Have you ever heard that the Eiffel Tower was once secretly sold? Well, in 1925, a man living in Paris did exactly that. He even managed to convince people that the French government was preparing to quietly get rid of the tower. And the event went down in history as one of the boldest schemes ever attempted. Paris in 1925 was a city caught between glamour and hardship. Post-war economic struggles filled the newspapers, and every week there were new reports about the rising cost of maintaining public buildings. One headline in particular stood out. The Eiffel Tower had become incredibly expensive to upkeep, and some even questioned its future. This was the perfect opportunity for a man like Victor Lustig, one of the most intelligent, charismatic, and psychologically sharp con artists of his time. He saw the public's doubts, the government's financial stress, and the confusion of the moment, and turned it into a plan so daring that no one would believe it today. Lustig rented a luxury hotel suite, forged official-looking government documents, and invited several of the wealthiest scrap metal merchants in Paris to a private, confidential meeting. When the men arrived, he introduced himself as a government official handling a highly sensitive matter, the discreet sale of the Eiffel Tower. He explained that maintenance costs had become too heavy, and the government, not wanting to spark public outrage, had decided to quietly sell the structure for scrap. The room fell silent. The idea sounded unbelievable, yet the documents, the setting, and Lustig's confidence made it feel entirely real. Among the invited businessmen was André Poisson, a man eager to rise in Parisian society. Lustig studied him carefully. Poisson wanted recognition, influence, a major deal that would put him on the map. Lustig knew exactly how to pull his strings. Poisson calculated the value of the tower as raw metal and presented a huge offer. Lustig accepted it without hesitation. The payment was made, and Lustig vanished from Paris with the money. When Poisson realized the truth, he didn't go to the police. He was too embarrassed to admit he had been deceived on such a monumental scale. And because of that silence, the incident remained hidden from the public. But the story didn't end there. Lustig returned to Paris only weeks later and attempted the exact same scheme again. This time, the businessmen became suspicious and contacted the authorities. But by the time the police reacted, Lustig had already fled the country. After escaping France, he traveled to the United States and built an entirely new chapter of his life. There, he carried out one of his most famous schemes, the money-making machine. It looked like a simple wooden device, but when a real banknote was placed inside, it would produce another identical note hours later. In reality, Lustig had secretly loaded the machine with banknotes beforehand. The illusion was perfect and incredibly profitable. Then came one of the most unbelievable episodes of his career. Lustig managed to take money from the legendary gangster Al Capone. He asked Capone for a $50,000 investment, kept the money untouched for weeks, then returned saying the deal had failed and that he was giving the entire sum back. Capone, impressed by what he believed was unusual honesty, rewarded Lustig with $5,000. Lustig had outsmarted one of the most feared men in America, not by taking his money, but by giving it back. Eventually, Lustig's schemes caught the attention of the FBI. In his file, agents described him as the smoothest con man that ever lived. After years of evading capture, he was finally arrested in 1935 and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Even behind bars, he continued attempting to deceive other inmates. He spent his final years in the medical wing of a federal facility connected to Alcatraz. In 1947, he died of pneumonia. His reported last words were, "My job was to sell people dreams." Victor Lustig's life remains one of the most extraordinary stories in criminal history. A man bold enough to sell the Eiffel Tower, clever enough to manipulate the rich and powerful, and calm enough to impress even Al Capone. So the question is, was Victor Lustig simply a master criminal? Or was he something far more complex? A brilliant mind who understood human belief so well that he could reshape reality itself. And if someone like him appeared today, would we even notice before it was too late?